Good day, everyone. Welcome back to Mathematics MJ, where numbers make sense. So today, guys, we're focusing on rules of fractions. We have to focus on rules of fractions. The rules of fractions. So basically, we are focusing on fractions, right? Uh, but before we actually focus mainly on fractions, I want us to go back to factorization. I want us to go back to factorization a bit just to check your prior knowledge. If you still remember one or two things there. Remember we said when we factorize something like this, right? You open two brackets because this is a trinomial from grade 10. And then you look for factors of 12. When we subtract them, they give us -1, right? So you'll have your 4 and your 3. And then the bigger number will take the sign of the middle term. So the bigger number here is 4. So 4 should be negative and then a plus there. And then this is factorized, right? And then same applies to when you are given difference of two squares, right? Something like this. What do? You look for the square root of the first term and the square root of the last term. So the square root of x squared is equals to x. And then the square root of 16 is equals to 4, right? So you'll have your x and x there. And then for 16, you'll have your 4 and 4. And then difference means change, right? So obviously you have to have signs there which are different, right? So remember that we will be applying this when it comes to fractions. That's why I was just reminding you. So let's start with the rules of fractions now. So for the rules of fractions, let's start with rule number one. So rule number one, it's about being given A over B times, let's say C over D, right? So here, this rule, it says when multiplying fraction, multiply the numerators as well as the denominators. So it's just the numerator versus numerator and then denominator versus denominator. So what do I mean by that? A will be multiplied by C and you'll end up with AC over B will be multiplied by D, you'll end up with B times D. So I need to write with the respective color there. So B times D, and you'll end up with something like this. So that's law number one, right? So law number two, now you have your A over B. But another thing, before we even get to law number two, don't forget to consider the restrictions. You must take note of the restrictions. B should not be equals to 0 and D should not be equals to 0 because this whole fraction will be undefined, right? And then let's move to law number two. AB divided by CD. Let me use different colors again. So you have your CD. Now, the first step here, you flip the fraction which is on your right hand side. Which fraction? This one here. You flip it. So you move from division to multiplication, given that you flip the fraction on your right hand side. So now we write multiplication. Now let's flip. So you'll end up with your D over C, right? And then from there, we apply this law here. Numerator versus numerator, and then denominator versus denominator. So A times D, you'll end up with your A D over your B times C, right? Which is BC. Again, there's restrictions. So our restrictions there, B shouldn't be equals to 0. C shouldn't be equals to 0, as well as D shouldn't be equals to 0, right? So basically here we're saying when dividing fraction, invert whatever is after divide sign and change the operation from division to multiplication. Basically, they're saying you flip, right? Now let's move to rule number 3. So for rule number 3, this one is about adding or subtracting fractions. So when you add or subtract fractions, given that you have a common denominator, the only thing that you do, you add or subtract the numerators, right? And then you keep one common denominator, right? I hope we on the same page here. So now I want us to quickly jump to example 1 without even waste of time. Let's jump to example 1. So for example 1, here they're saying simplify. We have to simplify, and then we are given x squared plus 5x minus 6 divided by x squared plus 2x. When you see this for the first time, it seems like a nightmare, right? But trust me, this is very, very simple. If you can listen to me, follow all the steps, you'll be on the safe side. And you will definitely master this. Just listening to me. So here, the first step that you have to do is to factorize the numerator and the denominator, right? Now let's do that. That was the reason why I've started by reminding you of factorization. That was the reason why I reminded you of factorization. So we have to factorize here, denominator and the numerator. So when we factorize our numerator there, you'll end up with x plus 6 and x minus 1. At this stage, we know how to factorize, right? And then we have your x plus 5 there, as well as x minus 3, right? Those are the factors of 15. And then moving to the factors of 12, which will give us 8. So that's x, and then we have 6 and 2. Positive and positive. And then now we're looking for the factors of 10, which will give us a positive 7. So that's x plus 5, and then x plus 2. And then from here, we have a denominator and a numerator which are what? Common, right? So we cancel those two quickly without waste of time. Now, now that we're done, you'll end up with your x plus 6 there and x minus 1, close bracket, x plus 5. Keep it as it is. Now, we apply the laws of fractions. Move from division to multiplication, you flip your fraction, right? So you flip the right-hand side. X plus 5 now becomes your numerator. X plus 6 becomes your denominator. And then from here, let's just cancel out. X plus 5 goes with x plus 5, and then x plus 6 goes with x plus 6. Now, your final answer would be x minus 1 over x minus 3. Then that's your final answer. Full marks. Without even thinking twice, you got your full marks. Now let's move to example 2. So example 2, we are given, so for example 2, we are still simplifying. They're giving us now x plus 5 plus 9 over x minus 3 plus 3x over 3 minus x. Okay, so before we even start here, we can see that here we are adding or subtracting the fractions. So basically here we have to focus on finding the LCD, which is our lowest common denominator, right? So in the process of finding the LCD, I've picked one thing, that x minus 3 can be common here, because this is just 3 minus x. So by taking out the common factor of -1, as I taught you from the previous videos, this can be written as x minus 3, right? So let's apply that. So you have your 9 there over x minus 3. So the sign is affected if you take out the common factor of -1 there. Now you end up with 3x over x minus 3. Now we have our lowest common denominator, which is our LCD. That is x minus 3, right? And then from here, we are ready to actually simplify this thing. So, but now how do we apply this thing of LCD? The first thing that you do, you draw the line, and then you write your LCD first. Let's write the LCD first. That's x minus 3. Don't forget that part, right? And then you have 3 parts of your fraction, right? You have to treat them separately. Let's start with the first one, which is the red color. So every part of the fraction must be multiplied by your LCD. So what is your LCD then? That's x minus 3 divided by 1, right? So we're just multiplying these two, and you'll end up with your x plus 5 and your x minus 3. We're done with the first part of our fraction. Now let's move to the next part now, which is 9 over x plus 3. So you have your 9 over x minus 3, right? So it should be multiplied by the LCD, which is x minus 3 over 1. Again, you cancel here, right? Because that's the numerator versus denominator. They cancel. You only left with what? A 9 there, which is a positive 9. And then we're done with that part. Let's move to the next part of the fraction, which is the last one. That one is negative 3x over x minus 3. Again, multiply by your LCD, which is x minus 3 over 1. Let's cancel again. Those two, they cancel, they go away. Now you're left with minus 3x. And again, you're done with multiplying everything with your LCD. Now we just need to simplify the fraction. Now we're at the stage now. So going back to grade 10, you just apply the FOIL method here, right? So this is x squared plus 2x minus 15 when we apply the FOIL method. And then drop down plus 9 minus 3x there. And we have our x minus 3, right? That's a bit clumsy. Let me try write it properly. Now it's perfect and proper. So now you have your x squared plus 2x minus 15 plus 9 minus 3x. Let's try and take care of the like terms, right? We add and subtract. So you have your plus 2 minus 3x, which will give us minus x, right? And then you also have minus 15 plus 9, which will give you minus 6. At least now this is simplified, right? So at this stage, our numerator is just a simple trinomial which can be factorized, right? So let's factorize that. So you have your x and x, you have your 3 and 2. Negative means different signs, and then the bigger number will take the sign of the middle term. What is our bigger number? 3. So that's negative, and then there's what? A positive there. Wow. Can you see now? We have a numerator which is the same as a denominator, then which means we cancel those two. Now you're left with your x plus 2. Simple as that. I hope we've understood. And then we move to what we call quadratic equations. Let's move to quadratic equations. For now, we're done with fractions. So quadratic equations. So quadratic equations, they take the form of ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. Usually, they end up with two solutions. Not all the time, usually. But if you are given a polynomial, then they will end up with three solutions, right? But you can only deal with the polynomials when you get to grade 12. So for now, we're only focusing on quadratic. So we also have steps of solving quadratic equations. So step number 1, you have to write these steps down. Make the right-hand side or left-hand side. Left-hand side equals to 0. Don't mind my handwriting. So beautiful, ne? Okay, now let's move to step number 2. Now we have to factorize. We have to factorize. Now, when you factorize, always make sure that you look for a common factor. You look for a common factor first. And then number 3, that's when now you solve for x. Solve for x. So I want us to apply these steps in every problem that we'll be working with. So without waste of time, let's start. So let's move to example 1. Let's quickly move to example 1. So our example 1, they're saying solve for x, right? We have to solve for x, and then we are given x squared minus 16 equals to 0. Can you see now the difference of two squares? It comes back. It comes back. So you have to be strong when it comes to the foundation of mathematics. So grade 10, 11, and 12, they go hand in hand. So you can't miss any grade. You must make sure that you understand everything so that you can master and get a distinction in maths, right? So you have x squared minus 16. What do I do there? What comes to my mind is difference of two squares. Factorize this thing using difference of two squares there. And then from here, your x would be -4, or your x would be 4. And then you're done, right? Others will say, but say, why don't we equate this to 0 like this? And then we get to this level. It's still the same. Even if you do this, you'll get full marks. So it's up to you. Remember, A student finish first. So yeah. So now let's move to example 2. So for example 2, now they're saying solve for x again, but then now we are given x squared minus 16x equals to 0. Wow, this is a bit different now, right? It's a bit different. How do we solve this? Okay, the first thing that you have to do, and the first thing that you have to take note of, do not divide by x, because now we are actually losing some of the solutions, but instead take out the common factor of x, and you'll be left with x minus 16 there equals to 0, right? And then from here, that's when now we can say x is equals to 0, or x minus 16 equals to 0. And then we start transposing, and then your x now is equals to 16. And then we're done. Again, it's not necessary for us to go through this step. We can just move from here to there. You'll get full marks. Now let's move to example 3. So for example 3, now they are giving us, we're still solving for x, but then now we are given negative 5x squared minus 5x plus 30 equals to 0. So one would say, let's just take out the common factor, and the other would just say, let's divide by negative 5 everything. So it's up to you how you want to go about solving this equation, right? It's up to you. But I prefer to divide everything so that I can just take care of the signs quickly without even stressing. So this is x squared plus x minus 6 equals to 0. Now this is just a simple trinomial. Favorite step. Factorization, we factorize, and then we get our factors there. And then the last step, x is equals to minus 3, or x is equals to 2. That's it. And then let's move to the last example for equations, quadratic equations. So, which is our example 5. I think is our example 5. Okay, wait. This is our example, or this was our example 3. So we move to example 4. Sorry. Example 4. So for example 4, we are given x minus 9 equals to negative 18. Okay, here, again, apply the steps, right? Distribute, remove the brackets, and then after removing the brackets, the 0 should be on the right-hand side or on your left-hand side by transposing whatever that is on the right-hand side. So let's do that. So this is x squared minus 9x. When we transpose minus 18, it becomes positive 18, right? Oh, my 18. Oh, my 18 is so beautiful, guys. Wow. My 18. Yeah, ne? Okay, and then we have your 18 there. West. Let me not waste time. So let's factorize now. So you have your x there minus 6 and your x minus 3 equals to 0. And then now you transpose x is equals to 0 or x is equals to 3. Then you got your solutions, right? Now, here's the last example then. Last example, which is example 5. So for example 5, we are still factorizing. But now, it seems as if we are factorizing something different, something we are not used to. We are still in grade 11, but then now they're giving us a polynomial equation, right? An equation with the highest exponent of 3. So obviously we need to use a polynomial division if maybe we're doing our metric. But here in grade 11, what do? You just take out the common factor of x so that it can go down to a quadratic equation. So let's do that. Take out the common factor of x. Now you're left with x squared minus 2x plus 1. right? Equals to 0. That's the first thing. And then now let's take care of the bracket. Let's take off the bracket now. So that's your x there, minus 1, and then your x minus 1 again, right? And then your final answer would be x equals to 0 or x equals to 1. And then we're done there. We're done with the equations. Now we move to equations with fractions. Now we're moving to equations now with fractions. Now it's the combination. Equations with fractions. The interesting one. So with equations with fractions, again, you have to apply the story of LCT. Here's example 1. We have to solve for x. You apply the story of LCT. We're given x plus 1. 2x over x minus 1. So here you have to apply the story of LCT. You must take care of the LCT quickly and then multiply everything by the LCT. So let's do that. So what is our LCT? You focus on your denominators. X plus 1 and x minus 1 becomes your what? Your LCT. So you have your x plus 1 and x minus 1. Right? Now, don't forget that x is not equals to negative 1 and x is not equals to 1. Right? Those are your restrictions. You must not forget at all times. And then from here, the only thing that you have to do, you take this first part of the fraction, multiply with the LCT, as I've explained earlier on. So that's 1 over x plus 1. And then multiply by your LCT, that's x plus 1. And then x minus 1 over 1. Now, common ones will cancel. 1 times x minus 1 would be x minus 1. And then we're done with that part. Let's move to the next part of the fraction, which is 1. So 1 times the LCT, you'll get the same thing, right? You'll end up having your 1 times your x minus 1 and your x plus 1. Perfect. Now, the last part there is our minus 2x over x minus 1. Obviously, we have to multiply with the LCT again. So let's do that. So multiplied by x plus 1 and x minus 1. X minus 1 and x minus 1, they cancel. Then minus 2x times x plus 1. So you'll end up with minus 2x multiplied by x plus 1. And then from here, now you can try and get rid of the brackets and all of that using the Fol method and distribution law. So when using the Fol method here, you'll end up with x squared minus 1 minus 2x squared. We're distributing now here. And then minus 2x equals to x minus 1. Right? Now, take care of these two. That's minus x squared. And then minus 2x, which is this part here. Right? And then now try and transpose this x to the right hand side. This will be minus x, while -1 and -1 cancels. Same signs, but different sides. They cancel each other, right? Equals to 0. This will give us 0 equals to x squared plus 3x. And then we take out the common factor there of x. This is x plus 3. And then now you have your x equals to 0 or x equals to -3. Done. Game over. Game over. We're done now. So we have to move to the next example, which is our example 2. Let's move to example 2. With fractions, guys, they will take your time. You need to make sure that you're accurate. You don't make any mistake. You don't make any mistake, honestly speaking. These ones, they can take your time and your marks as well. So you need to make sure that we are accurate in every sense. So for this one, the LCD is x plus 1 there, right? You multiply by your LCD. So, but again, you can just cross multiply there. So when you cross multiply, you'll end up with x squared minus 1 equals to 2 times x plus 1, right? And then from here, get rid of the bracket there. That's x squared minus 1. And then from here, transpose everything. X squared, that's minus 2x. Transpose positive 2, it becomes minus 3 equals to 0. And then, again, standard trinomial, factorize. So you have your 3 and 1 there, negative and plus. Therefore, your x is equals to 3, or your x is equals to -1, right? But your x will never be equals to -1 because of this. So the solution is only this, which is our 3. Now let's move to example 3. Let's move to example 3 quickly. So for example 3, now we are given 2x over, now it's getting serious. They're getting personal now. They are getting personal. X minus 3 there equals to 3 over 3 minus x. So the first step here is to get the LCD by taking out the common factor of -1 from this term here, right? Let's do that so that we can have a common denominator, which is x minus 3, x minus 3. So let's do that. So you have your 2x over x plus 3 minus x there over x minus 3. So when you take out the common factor, that sign there will be affected. So you'll have your negative 3 over, now it becomes x minus 3, right? Now we need to have our LCD. What is our LCD? LCD is x plus 3 and your x minus 3. This is equals to your LCD. And then after getting your LCD, that's when now you can start multiplying everything by your LCD. Let's start with this part of the fraction, followed by this one and that one, right? So at this point, you understand. So you'll have your 2x there over x plus 3 times x plus 3 and x minus 3 divided by 1. Now cancel. X plus 3 and x plus 3, they cancel. You're left with 2x plus, 2x multiplied by x minus 3. Done with that part. Let's move to the next one. Actually, let me do this. Let me just remove this one here and leave the LCD because we are multiplying by the LCD everything. So now you have your minus x over x minus 3. We are here now. Again, same LCD. Now, here we are not cancelling x plus 3, but instead we cancel x minus 3. So you have your x plus 3 there. We cancel x minus 3 and x minus 3. And now we are left with minus x multiplied by x plus 3. So that's minus x multiplied by x plus 3, right? And then we're done with that part. Now we're left with the last one. So for the last one, you have your minus 3 over x minus 3 times x plus 3 and x minus 3. Now try to cancel again. So we cancel, now multiply these two. So you'll end up with, okay, equals to minus 3 and then x plus 3. Then we're done with that part, right? So we're left with the final step here. So what do we do here? Get rid of the brackets using distribution law. That's all we have to do. So this is 2x squared minus 6x minus x squared minus 3x equals to minus 3x minus 9. Now we have to take care of these now. And we get x squared. And then minus 6 minus 3, that's minus 9. When we transpose this one, it becomes a plus 3. So minus 9 plus 3, that's minus what? Minus 6x. Perfect. And then transpose your negative 9, it becomes a positive 9 equals to 0. Now factorize. We're looking for factors of 9. When we add them, they give us 6. That's simply 3 and 3, right? 3 and 3 minus and minus. So your x is equals to 3. But according to the restriction, x is not equals to 3. Why are we saying that? Because of the numerator there. Because of the because of the denominator there. So x can be equals to 3. It will take us to undefined, basically. So there's no solution for this. There's no solution. So basically, we are fighting to prove that there's no solution for this. Now we left with the last example for this video. Last example on this video. So example 4. We have to solve for x and we are given 3x plus 6 over x squared minus x minus 2 plus 4 over 2 minus x equals to minus 4 over x squared plus 4x plus 3. We have to factorize the non-linear denominators. these are non-linear denominators. Linear is a straight line. This one is a linear, right? This one is a linear because it's in a form of y equals to mx plus c. So hence we're saying this one is a linear, but these ones, they're non-linear. We call them quadratic expressions, right? So let's factorize this part first. Yeah. So we have your 3x plus 6 there over, that's x minus 2 and x plus 1. Plus, you have your 4 there. Actually, let me just do this without even wasting time, because at some point I see that we have minus x minus 2. So let's create a common bracket. So take out the common factor of negative there, of -1, and we are left with x minus 2, so that these two brackets can be the same, right? That helps us to get to our LCD so quick. And then factorize here, you have your 4 there, which is negative. Let's factorize. You'll have your x plus 3 and x plus 1. Done. And again, you have to try to multiply everything by your LCD, right? So when you multiply this part with your LCD, you end up with, okay, let me first write the LCD down for you. The LCD would be x plus 3, x plus 1, and x minus 2. Restrictions: x will not be equals to -3, will not be equals to -1, will not be equals to 2. Those are your restrictions. So now let's start. You multiply everything by your LCD. So when we multiply this part here, 3x plus 6 over x minus 2 and x plus 1 with the whole LCD there, which is x plus 3. I will only show you the first step because this thing is so long, guys. You'll understand the first step, then from there, you can just make sense out of everything. So x plus 1 and x plus 1, they cancel. Now you're left with these two, multiply these two. So you'll end up with 3x plus 6 as well as x plus 3. So from here, you understand the story of LCD. I won't keep on repeating the story of LCD. I've been preaching this for so long now. So the only thing that I have to do now is to give you the solutions, not to waste your time. So when we multiply this part here with our LCD, we end up with minus 4 x plus 3 as well as x plus 1. And then we multiply the last part as well, which is this one on our right hand side there. And we end up with minus 4 and then x minus 2. But if you still have time, you can just multiply this part with your LCD just to confirm the answers, and also multiply this part with your LCD just to check if you will get the same answers, right? And then as from here, I will just use the FOIL method to get rid of this and end up with 3x squared plus 15x plus 18, right? And then again, FOIL method to take care of the bracket there. That's x squared plus 4x plus 3. And then distribution law here on this side, minus 4x plus 8. Okay. And then from here, now I have to get rid of the bracket now by multiplying with that -4. So let's multiply with the -4. So when we multiply with the -4, I'll end up with -4x squared -16x and -12 equals to -4x plus 8. And then from here, you just have to make sure that you collect the like terms. So when collecting the like terms, at this stage, you know how to collect the like terms, right? When collecting the like terms, we end up with -x squared plus 3x minus 2. Oh, our 2 minus 2 equals to 0. Hey, these days I have a tendency of writing weird numbers. I don't know why, but nonetheless, let's continue. Now let's try and divide everything by -1. You end up with your -3x there and plus 2 equals to 0. And then from here, try to factorize this because this is just a standard trinomial. So this becomes x minus 1 and x minus 2, right? Then your solutions, x is equals to 1 there, and n or x is equals to 2. But from our restrictions, x is not equals to 2. So this is our only solution. Right one with the right pen. So x is equals to 1. It's our only solution. Thank you so much, family, for watching my video. I'll come back with more videos. I'll come back with more videos. If you've enjoyed my video, make sure that you like and subscribe, even share my videos as well. Bye.